In this video we will talk about strings in Python. This is the video from series of videos Python for beginners. Check out the previous videos collected in a list. So far we have learned how to install Python, studied numbers and explore Python dynamic typing and variables. And in this video we will learn everything about strings. So what is string? String is an ordered collection of characters used to store and represent text and bytes based information. From functional perspective, strings can be used to represent just about anything that can be encoded as a text or byte. So it could be symbols, it could be words, it could be one character, and etc. So Python strings are categorized as immutable sequence, meaning that the characters they contain have a nest to right positional order and that they cannot be changed in place. I will talk about this with an examples later. So for now, let me show you what is string. So let me open our Python interactive prompt and I will do the examples here. So let's create the variable and refer them to the string object. So firstly we will create empty string. So this is string. We created the variable. Also one character is, for example, a. It's also a string. For example, name like John. This is also a string. Or even some text. For example, like some text here. This is also a string. So all of these four variants, it's the strings. Let's check the types just to be sure. So let's check the type of this variable. So the first one is empty string, and empty string, and the type is, as you can see, string. If we will check the other one, for example, this one character that we have, it's also a string. If we will check name is also string, and you could guess that the text would also be string. As we know from previous video about variables, a variable don't have a type. So now we check the type of the object that these variables refers to, because we can even check not like that type, for example, John directly, and we will have that this is the string. We just set this John to the variable name. As you saw, in some cases I used two quotes here, and in some cases I used one quote. So why is that? Both of them is used to create a string. They are equivalent and interchangeable. If we would compare the string one with double quotation and one with single, we will see that they are the same. So let me just show you, just for you should not trust me, we should check it. So if we will do this comparison, so we will write that this text with the two quotation and this text with the one quotation, we will see that they are the same. We got the true. The reason to supporting both ways is that it allows you to embed a quote characters of the other variety inside a string without escaping it with backslashes. So for example, like this, we wanted to have that something is John's, so we could do like that and it would be fine. We don't get any error. Or we could do it differently if you want to use like that. So this is the reason. Which one to use in your code, you should decide yourself. For me, I'm mostly using two quotes. It's just the way how I used to do that. But you can use one quotes as well if you prefer. So let me clear and let me exit and then clear, and I will go to Python prompt again. And now let's talk about the basic expressions. and operations we can do with the strings. So we understood that strings is the characters. They are writing in 2 quotes or in 1 quote, and they could be anything. So let's review what we can do with them. So the first thing is concatenation. It's when you need to add one string to another. So for that we use plus sign. So for example, we will have a string text, and we can add plus and here, and as a result we will have text here, new string. And what is if you want to add 2 numbers using concatenation when one of them is strings? So for example, you can get an input from other user in your code from some file or and etc. You could have it as a string. So even though you need to treat it as the number. So let's try add the number and string. For example, 42, we got it from our input in our code from the user, and we know that this is the number, but we got it in the string type. So now it's 42, and we need to do some adding operations with this number. So if we will just do like that, we will get an error because we cannot concatenate strings and integers. But there is the way how you can fix it. You can change our string to integer. So if you would just write integer like that, we will get the result 44. And the same way you could do with the float. So if you need the float, if you have your string as the float, here like 42.5, you can just use it instead of int, you can use a float. But you cannot use this into a string that is not a number. So for example, if it would be text plus 2, we will get an error because it's not a number. So you need to use this int function just if you have a number in a string. The next things that we could do with the strings is the repetition. So if you want to repeat one string a few times, you can do it just like that. So for example, I have my hi here and I want it to repeat 4 times. So I will just use this sign and 4, and you will see as the result we got a new string with the hi repeated 4 times. Also, you can always check the length of your string. For that, there is the function called length. So let's create some string. For example, I will create the variable named string, and we'll write something like my string, like that. And then I can check the length of this string. And you will see that it's 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, because space is also considered. Also, there is the way that you could check is if some characters are in string using a in keyword. So for example, we can check whether it's car, these characters in, for example, cartoon, and we got that true. But if we will check something else, like text in cartoon, we will get the false because there is no characters like that in the cartoon. Also, in the same way, you can check whether it's not in and to get the true. So instead of in, you will just use not in, and you will get true because text is not in cartoon. And if it's in, like here, and you will use not in, you will get false because obviously it's in. So also you can iterate through string using for statement. As you remember, I mentioned before that the string is a sequence, and that is why you can iterate. We will discuss loops and for statements in other videos in more details, but for now I will show you an example. So for example, like that, for x in banana, and then print x, and we will get the results that we iterated through our string, so one by one. Because strings are defined as ordered collection of characters, we can access their component by position. In Python, characters in string are fetched by indexing, providing the numeric offset of the desired component in square brackets after the string. So Python offset starts from 0 and end at 1 less than the length of the string. Let me show it in example. So let's create a new variable and set a string value to it. So for example, our variable will be car and the string name would be Tesla, like that. And for now, if we want to check what the first character in our string, we can use car 0. And if we want to check what is the last, we can firstly check the length of our car, it's 5. And to get the last character, as long as we start from 0, so T is 0, E is 1, S is 2, L is 3, and A is 4. So to get the A, we need to press 4. But easier to remember, you just need to write here the number that is less by 1 from the length of the of your string. So if we want to check the last character, we can use the way that we just did, or there is another way. We could just use -1 and we will get this last character. So, but what if we forget that we start from 0 and try to check the character as the 5th? Because we know that the length is 5th and you forget that it starts from 0. What will be the result? So if you would try to get the 5th, you will get an error because there is no index, no character in this index. So index is out of range. We can even write, as you remember, we got this last character as the car -1, but we can even in this way got the first element by writing car -5, so we get the T. But the better way is of course to use car 0 and car -1 to get the last item. So Python lets you fetch items from sequence such as string using a negative offset as well. So you could use positive or negative offset. Also, because the string is the sequence, you can slice it, which means just to get few characters you want, divide it and etc. So let me show you few examples. So if we will just try to slice, we will use our car and 1, 2, 3. We will get the result, the characters from 1 to 3. We will include 1 but not 3. So just remember this part will be included and this one is not. So that is why we got 1 and 2. And the third one we didn't get. As you remember, we're starting from 0. So left offset is inclusive and the right is not. So it's easy to remember. The left number is inclusive, right number is not inclusive. Also, you can do it differently. So for example, you could use just car and this. So you will get all of the characters from 1 and till the end, till the length of your string. Another way you could do it like that, so you could get all from the beginning until 4th, or even you could do it like that. You will also get the same result. So the lower will be it will be starting from 0 and until the number that you just showed. This may seem confusing now, but whenever you will need to use slicing in your code, if you're not sure how it's working, you can always moderate it in an interactive prompt to be sure that it does what you expect. So as I just showed you. So if you forgot which one is inclusive, which one is not, you could just try it in the interactive prompt before writing your code. So you could easily check it. Another way of slicing is extending slicing. It's accept the step, allows to skip items or reverse them. So let me show you an example. Let's create a new longer string and put it in a new variable. So for example, we will create our variable long word, and we will write caterpillar, long enough for us. So now, for example, we can use the slicing but with the steps. So we will write 1, for example 8 and 4. So I will just explain you what we did, and we got the result. So let me explain you what we did. So which means what we just wrote, this part, it means that gives me every second character from the located that located from 1 to 7, because 8 is not inclusive, and the step is 2. So you could write it, for example, give me every third from 1 until the end, for example. Or even you could write give me every second character from the beginning until the end. So you could just use it in this way as well. And we got every second character here. So the first number is where to start, second number where to end, and the third one is the step. So for like which characters you want to get. You can also use a negative step here. So for example, if we will use -1, it will reverse our variable. So if we will just do it like that, we will get caterpillar reversed. So just easy to do it. So with the negative step, the meaning of the first 2 bounds are reversed. So the left one is included and the right one is not. So for example, if we will just to show, we will use 5, 1 and -1 here. So we will fetch the items from 2 to 5 in reverse order, and we got the result. So the result would contain item from the offset, which will be 5, 4, 3 and 2. Skipping and reversing are the most common use case for the string slicing, so you would just need to learn it. The next thing we will talk about how to change strings, but before we will do that, remember that I mentioned that string is the immutable sequence. So it is mean that you cannot change them. For example, we cannot change the character in a string by assigning it to index. So let's try. So for example, we have our new variable, which is the string text, and let's just try to change our first letter to something else, for example L, just like that. You see, we got the error because the string is not changeable and we cannot change it like that. But what if you still need to do that in your code? So to do that, what we will do, we will basically create a new string and reassign the variable to it. So let's do it. So for example, s equals s, and we just wanted to get all of except first one, right? Because we want to change this first T to L. And then we will just use the concatenation. So what we got in the result, we just changed our string. But actually we didn't change it. We create the new string and then reassign the same variable to this new string. Another way to change in quotes is to use the replace function. So we can change, do it like that, s replace, and then we will replace our e, for example, with with x, like that, and we got the result. here. But you see that I didn't reassign the variable. So if we will check our s variable, it's actually didn't change. So this is what I meant by that the string is not changeable. So to change this variable, we need to reassign it to our new string that we just created, this one. And we created it using this. So let me just copy it. And in this case, we will have it changed. But it's not that we changed the string. We assigned our variable to the newly created string. Generation a new string object for each string change is not as inefficient as it may seem. Remember, as explained in the previous video, Python automatically garbage collects the unused string objects, so it's quite efficient. And now I will show you how to format strings. There's two ways that I will show you how to do that, but let me just firstly explain you what is formatting. So for example, we have two variables, which is D would be text and S would be new text. They are dynamic, so it's, for example, this is the input from the users and etc. So you want them to put in some other string. So we would, for example, we would like to have the strings that we would display that D is, and then something, and then S is something, and then we will use dot format and D and S. So we want, instead of this to be text, instead of this part to be new text, and we just place them in the according order. And you see the result. So D is text, S is the new text. There is other way to do that using F string. So you just write F, then like that, and here in these brackets we will put exactly the variable. So for us, variable is D, and here is the variable is S, and in the result we got the same. D is text, S is the new text. So it's a common use of the formatting. So now we will talk about string methods, but before I would like to tell you what is method. Method is the simply function that are associated with and act upon particular object. So technically, methods are attributes attached to objects that happen to reference callable functions which always have an implied subject. So which is mean that for the different classes there is different methods. One of the methods for strings that we check, it was the replace method. As you remember, we checked it before. So now I will show you other methods for strings and how to use them. Let's create a new variable with a string, and we will test all the methods in this variable. I will show you most used methods, and then I will leave a link below to Python documentation where you can check all of the methods for the strings. But you can also check all the methods, not just going to the links or etc. You could just check it here in your interactive prompt. You could just write help and then string, because we want to check all of the methods for a string. So this is the details about the string object, and here is all of the methods that is available for string. So you could just check, just type help string or help integer or help float and etc. and got all of the methods here. Also, if you don't know what exactly method does and you want to see the usage, you could always check help string, and then, for example, replace we already used, but you want to check. So you see that the replace, it's the return a copy with all occurrence of subtracting old replaced by new. So then there is you could put some parameters and etc. and here is everything described how to use it. Let me just create a new string, and I will name it as test string. I do it on the purpose, like the capital letters and etc. It's needed to show you the methods. So how to use methods? You could just use the string variable, and for example the first method we would use would be capitalize, just dot and the method, and call it whether with the parameters or not. So for this one we will not use any parameters. So what this method does, it makes the first character have uppercase and the rest lowercase. So you see that this is uppercase and this is lower. This method capitalized change the string for us in the proper way, so you could always use it. Another method is string the case fold. For example, what does it do? It return a version of the string suitable for caseless comparison. So it means that it will just put it everything in lower. The next method is count. For example, we will call it. And what does it method does? It returns the number of non-overlapping occurrences of the substring in string. So to this method we need to put an argument. So you see that the count takes at least one argument, and this is argument. It's for example, how many times the letter is appearing or the character is appearing in string, or like some line or etc. everything. So for example, I would like to check how many T I have in my string, and I had the result 2 because test and etc. But this one is the lower in uppercase, so to check it I would need to use it like that, count. Then next method that we could use is find, and this method returns the lowest index in our string where a substring is found. So for example, we would like to see where is our T, like the first one, so it will return the index, so it's in 0 as you see. But if you want to check the highest index for this letter, so where it's located, you would use r find. So this is 3, so like that. Then next one is alpha. For example, string is alpha. It's return whether string have all the characters in strings are alphabetic. For us it's false because we have space, but if we will, for example, remove the space, we will reassign our string just for test, for example. And now if we will use is alpha, we will get true because we don't have any spaces and all of the characters in string are letters. Another one is string is numeric, which is meant it's checking whether here is the numbers. So for us it's give us false, of course, but if we will reassign our string, for example, to 42 and check the method again, we will get true because it's numeric. So let me reassign our string to our test string again. And then next method is lower. It's return a copy of the string converted to a lower case. So just string lower and it will convert string to lower case. If you see, S is not in uppercase anymore. Different thing is upper. It would do opposite thing. It will return a copy of the string converted to uppercase. Then string partition, for example, it would divide the string into 3 parts using the given separator. Now I forgot to give the separator. So for us, for example, I wanted to divide it by space and I get the result with three different things, including space. Then another one is string split. It will also need to set a separator here. So for example, for now I want to split it. It will not split just in 3 parts, but as many parts as we want. I want to split it by t. So here is the result. I just splitted this string. So if we will not provide the separator, the split will according to any white space in the center. So let's not provide it, for example. It's not required. It will split it by space, as you see, not including space. So we got the list with two strings now. Then other one is lower. For example, string is lower. It returns true if all of the letters is lower in lowercase. For us it's false because we have s as the big one. If you will check, you see that s is the big one, so that is why it's false. The same you can use is upper. It would give true if all of the upper is upper. For us it would be also false because it's not all of them are upper, just one. Then another one is string start with. We could check whether our string start with some prefix. So for example, with a test. Starts with. And we got the true because it starts with test. The same we can use ends with. We got false because it's not ends with test, it ends with string. So if in G, for example, we got true because it ends with these 3 characters. Then next one that I will show is string swap case. It's convert uppercase characters to lowercase and lowercase characters to uppercase. So you see now S is lower and everything that was lower now is upper. So that is all for strings for now. Thanks for watching my video. I hope that you found it useful. If you have any questions or you would like some more explanations on anything that I just said, you could always ask me in the comments. I will try to reply. For more videos, please subscribe to my channel and leave your reactions. And remember, knowledge is our superpower.